What's up, everybody? Once again, it is I, James, coming to you from the Nerdy Musings podcast studio. I am joined today, and I think this might be an understatement, by comic book royalty. I know that term gets thrown around. Miss Emma Kubert, how are you doing today?
I'm good. What an introduction.
I figured I'd hit you with that one.
Yeah, sure. Making me blush.
Where's the... You got to have your proper tea and everything if you're comic book royalty, but I know for you, it's coffee.
Oh, definitely coffee for me.
Yes.
I do drink tea too. I'm not like a tea hater, okay?
Okay.
But I am a coffee person. I haven't had coffee in a while though, just because I needed a break and I was sick for a bit. So it was like, all right, I need to put this aside. Live with the caffeine headache.
Right. Yeah, that was one of my favorite things in your intro videos for your drawing course. Where you're like, grab your coffee, let's go.
It's important. It's an important utensil to have. It's on the materials list. No, I don't think it is.
If it's not, you need to update it. It needs to be on there.
Yeah, it's like a source of caffeine.
Yeah, some sort of healthy-ish stimulant.
Yeah, there we go.
For preparing yourself for making deadlines once you go pro.
Yes, exactly.
Well, as the introduction alluded to, you come from a long line of comic book artists and people involved in the comic book industry. So your dad is Andy Kubert.
Yes, indeed.
That's a pretty amazing thing. Yeah, and you have your uncle Adam.
Mm-hmm.
And the legendary Joe Kubert is your grandfather.
Yes, definitely.
Amazing.
And I could even add to that list. And my cousin Katie Kubert is a DC editor.
Oh, that's awesome.
And then I have another cousin named Orion, who's also he went to the Kubert School as well. And he's a graphic novelist too. So, there's sprinklings everywhere throughout my family.
Sounds like it. Yeah, the Kubert School, I remember when I was growing up as an aspiring comic book artist, like that was always kind of the dream, was like if you could find some way to get in at the Kubert School, like how cool would that be?
Well, it's still there. It's not in Dover, New Jersey.
Right.
It actually moved, and it actually moved recently this summer, this past year, to Madison, New Jersey. So it's only like literally 20 minutes away from like its original location.
Yeah.
But it's in a really, really great location in Madison, and I'm really excited for like this new chapter. I'm the first Kubert to be in this setting, so
that's amazing.
Exciting.
That's super exciting. Yeah, when I was reading about it, it was like, gosh, I don't even know what it would have probably been in Wizard magazine or something. I would have seen the article or in the back of a comic book, and back then, I don't even think back then when I was first seeing it, there weren't like the correspondence courses or anything like that. But then I started seeing those and I couldn't afford them. I was like bummed. And then I ended up, eventually like I have all the workbooks and all of that because at one point they made it so you could get those even if you weren't going to do the correspondence part of it, and you could have the workbooks and everything. And now we're in a time where we have even more access. We don't actually have to be there to participate in it.
You don't. Honestly, there is every option for every person's situation.
Yeah.
Like some people do really well being in like a live classroom setting and like being present there and like paying for the time and the discipline and the community to like be there physically. But some people can't afford to do that. Like some people have like lives that that they have to attend to, you know?
Yes.
So it's just like there's an offer and there's a way anyway to like learn how to do this stuff, whatever works for you, you know? And that's
Yeah.
kind of like what I always thought. And apparently my grandpa thought that too, where it's just like, just learn any way that you can. It doesn't have to be at his specific school.
Right.
Just do it the way that you can do it.
Yeah, I feel like, going all in and actually being there would be really cool. But like you were saying, like when you said some of us have lives, it's like my life branched in a different, the timeline
Yeah.
branched and I was, well, as my shirt, I'm into way too many things. Cats, comics, drawing,
There's
jujitsu,
not a
arm
lot of good
wrestling.
to be into.
The list, the list is probably growing. It's gonna go. My wife's gonna have to
Yeah.
make me a new one of these. But I ended up. I wanted to be a professional comic book artist, and then my timeline branched, and I ended up. I've been running my Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school now for,
That's
gosh, I
cool.
want to say this is the 23rd year or so straight running my business full time. So
But that's crazy too, okay?
yeah, yeah. It's funny
That's
how,
really cool.
yeah, and that wasn't planned or anything. It just I ended
No,
up on the path that I was meant to be on. But now
exactly.
via modern technology, if I wanted to, I could jump on and
Of
benefit
course.
from the Kubert School.
Yes. Any kind of form. I know that we have the full-time program, but there's also the Saturday classes, you have the summer intensive classes, you have the online classes now that are offered every quarter. And then myself, as we talked about a little bit, is that
Yes.
I'm offering my own video course as well. So lots of options.
There's no excuse, everybody. If you wanna,
And oh, I was just gonna add
yeah,
to that I also just on my social media for free, I make like little TikTok videos of little
yes.
drawing tips and stuff too. So if like you can't afford anything, just file for free.
Exactly. Well, speaking of your drawing and your drawing tips and everything, I wanted to kind of rewind a little bit and talk about, like, I have a feeling I probably know some of the questions I'm going to ask. I probably know the answers, but I want to give the audience
Okay.
the benefit of not
All right.
being as big of a nerd as me. So, an art nerd specifically, but for you, growing up in a family that was into
Mhm.
the comic book industry, did you find comics early in your life? Was that something that I mean, it was surrounding you, but was it really, because I know there's situations where when you're a kid and there's stuff that your family's into, you don't always want to be into the things, like we have our own things we get into, right?
Uh,
Now, for
it's
you, was it that, or was it always just like, I'm going to do something with comics, or I like comics?
I feel like I have such a funny, like, roundabout way that I, like, went about it. So I grew up pretty much the town over from the old location of the Kubert School, and I took Saturday classes. I was always into art, but,
Yeah.
like, not just comics, like, any kind of art form. I love my film classes. I liked to draw and write and do theater and all those kinds of stuff. Like I did
Okay.
music as well, a little bit of dance, all that kind of stuff. So it was like I just loved having a creative outlet. And like that was kind of the direction that I wanted my career in. I just didn't know what kind of art form I wanted to go in.
Yeah.
Um, and growing up, I wasn't really exposed to a lot of comics that were really meant for me. Like we would get boxes and boxes of like DC comics, like, like monthly we would get the periodicals and, you'd shift through a bunch of like the Batman comics and the Superman comics. And that's really great for my older brother and for my dad. But for me as like an 11-year-old, 12-year-old girl, I wasn't too keen into these figures.
Yeah,
I'm not going to lie.
understandably so, yeah.
But it's not that I didn't like admire the art form though, like it was something that I was always very proud of being a part of. I just didn't know if it was for me or I didn't know like what kind of form I wanted it to take for myself. So I actually first I studied animation and storyboarding at Savannah College of Art and Design, and then I dropped out and went to the Kubert School.
Okay. So that's the
And
one that people call SCAD, right?
yes, yes,
Yes, because I had Clara Meath on here, and I believe she went to
yeah,
SCAD. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, there's some artists that have gone to SCAD before. I know I know Tom Lyle used to teach there, but I personally, I think the way that the college was structured, I just needed a little more discipline for myself. Like
Yeah.
that was literally it. Cause I had friends who really, really liked SCAD, but for me, it just wasn't the kind of schedule that I wanted.
Gotcha.
Because I needed to be chained to a desk, okay? Like I really needed to like
You were the
be like
person.
forced to,
You,
to sit in a desk
you
and
got to
draw
be
all
there
day.
in person.
Yeah. Yes,
If
I have to
if
be there in person,
yeah,
carve out the time. Like that is me.
online wouldn't have suited you if it was available back
No,
then.
no, no, no. I'm not an online learner,
Yeah.
even though, I support it.
Right.
But me personally, I just kind of found like the way that my career path was going while I was at SCAD, I wasn't going to be able to create the kind of stories that I wanted to create very individually, especially in the animation industry. Like, if you're going into animation or even storyboarding, you're pretty much doing other people's
Yeah.
stories until you become maybe one day a director when you're like 50 years old.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I was just kind of like, okay, like, let me just take a little bit of a pivot here and take a beat and let me go home and try out the Kubert School. I still wasn't keen about comics at that point. And it was just because I felt like I somehow missed the wave of YA comics that came
Mm-hmm.
out. And when they started to come out, that is when I started to go to the Kubert School. And so I was finally like finding my little niche and being like, oh, hey, wait a second. Like this
Yeah.
genre is opening up. This audience is opening up. I can see myself doing something in here. And then that's kind of where I started to expand my work and dive more into comics because nowadays I don't just like YA comics. I like all kinds of comics and
Yeah.
I love superhero comics and, a lot of indie comics and everything like that. So, yeah.
When you say YA comics, you're referring to young adult comics, right? Like
Yes.
more
Yes.
directed towards kids and
Yeah.
child friendly stories, we might say.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing too. Like the beautiful thing about comics is there are comics for literally everybody, and
Yeah.
and
Exactly.
I think people get kind of or especially people that are thinking about maybe, well, could I do comics or could I get into comics? Like, we have this idea of what comics are. And obviously, for most people, they probably automatically think of Superman, Batman, Spider-Man. This is
Yeah.
when they go, oh, comic books. If you tell somebody on the street, I work in comic books, that might be what pops into their brain, but there's so much variety of where you can
There
go.
is a variety. And honestly, like I do see the tides changing a bit because since I teach at the Kubert School, I teach narrative art for the first years. So if you're going to the full-time program, you'll have me as a teacher.
Nice. Very cool.
But a lot of them, when they come in, usually the first question I ask, I'm like, what kind of comics do you want to create? Or like, what kind of stories do you want to create? And a lot of them say they want to create their own. And a lot of them say they want to create like web comics
Mm.
or like graphic novels and stuff like that. So I'm kind of seeing a shift in that side of the industry, but it's an exciting shift because
Yeah,
like it's just more comics, you know?
absolutely. And it's one of these things where you can find your place and you don't have to be bound by a certain constraint.
Yeah.
Like that was one of the things I really liked about your introductory module on your course was you're basically
Oh.
saying like exactly what you just said. Like what you figure out what kind of comic you want to make. What do you like here's ways to kind of
Yeah.
come up with an idea and all these types of things. So I thought that was really cool. You didn't tell people you have to do it this way. It's like, no, let's figure
No.
out what you're into and kind of craft your
Yeah.
approach around that.
Yeah, because everyone's different, you know, everyone's into so many different things. And just going back to, you know, my family, you can see that literally in like the lineage of my family. You can see that my grandpa, his comics were very based in like let's say war comics was
Yes.
a really, really heavy genre that he was into, while my dad and my uncle DC versus Marvel right there.
Yeah.
And then for me right now, I'm very much into the young adult fantasy, indie kind of comics. So it all depends on like what you like to do, but the method behind it is pretty much the same, you
Yeah.
know? Like the approach can be very similar to one another.
So I'm going to sidetrack a little bit because we have to talk about Inkblot. Your
Okay.
comic Inkblot. I love it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I'm like a cat comic. This is cool. Obviously, something
Yeah.
right up your alley. Where did you come
Mhm.
up with the idea for Inkblot?
Well, Inkbot, I created that idea with my husband, Rusty Glad. We went to the Kubert School together. We were in the same class. That's how we met.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it's very cool. And so the idea honestly came from both of us. So I was really into the young adult type of plots where you had like I love Sabrina the Teenage Witch
Hmm.
and Harry Potter and like all of these coming of age fantasy stories that I grew up with. And at the same time that I was like creating stories around that kind of genre and audience, Rusty was reading all 14 books of The Wheel of Time.
Oh, yeah. He's going deep into the lore.
He was going really deep into fantasy land. And so when we started to come up with the idea for Inkblot, we kind of just mushed two of the things that were influencing us the most together. Like for me, it was a witch and her familiar black cat. And with him, it was the epic fantasy
Yeah.
history lore that comes with like a giant world. And so then when we put those two together, we started piecing everything together and it became this really, really big plot with a very interesting premise.
Definitely. Very interesting, very unique because there's some twists in there, so that's always cool.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. Well, and fun, I think fun is what we keep coming back to. Like,
Yeah.
do you think like when people are getting into comics, do you think I don't know if taking it too seriously would be the right word, but again, talking about the constraints people put on themselves, like, should the approach be like, yes, we have to have our fundamentals that we're following, but we need to make sure that we're keeping this fun for ourselves so we don't get too constrained in burn out in the process.
So yes, definitely agree that creators need to constantly remind themselves to keep it loose and keep it fun.
Yeah.
But I am also like, I also do understand when it's not just comic book creators, but just artists in general, writers, artists in general. Um, Usually they're just in their own studio, I think it's important to keep it fun for yourself, but I understand when creators can't.
Yeah.
um, and it's mostly because like when you're creating something, like especially if you're creating like a whole entire world, you're pretty much like at home by yourself in your little studio. And it's so easy to get just like enveloped in the process of
Right.
doing it. But that's why, like, I always think it's important to, touch some grass and
Yeah.
talk to a person and be like a functioning person of society
Yeah.
along with creating. And it's just because like you need to remember that, yeah, it is fun and it is creating stories and you're not a god and you are you're just literally creating entertainment for other people to grasp onto.
Yeah.
They can learn something from it, they can be inspired by it, but it's just your own job to just do it.
Now, do you think that's harder to do when you're working on somebody else's idea versus doing your own project? Is it harder to maintain that approach? Like if you're under the constraints, say you're working on Batman and you're
Mhm.
working with a writer and there's a direction, it's like more walls are up in certain senses because your creative freedom, you can only push outside the boundaries too so much.
I think
Does that,
maybe,
are you able
but
to still, should they still be able to find the joy and the fun and the creativity even in that
oh,
type of situation?
definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely. And it's like honestly because you're not just an artist of Batman, you're an artist in general. Like you fell in love with the art of creating comics,
Yeah.
not just the art of creating Batman, because most likely you're not going to draw Batman.
Exactly.
Like you could, it's not far fetched, but it's more just like most artists and most writers, they love the craft of doing it more than usually the end result of it. And that's why they can continue to do it. So to me, it's like if you, if any kind of creative circumstance, if you're immersed into it, you can be in love with it forever. Like
That
for
makes
me,
sense.
sometimes when I'm like working on projects, I will like put on specific music that will like replicate the same feeling that I get from working on that project. Like I'll put on like a fantasy soundtrack when I'm working on, like Stoneheart or something like
Right.
that. So it all feels like it connects when, you immerse yourself into it.
That's very cool. Yeah, that makes sense. So let's talk a little bit about your course because that's kind of, when I initially was inspired to reach out to you and invite you on the podcast, I saw this online course that you had, obviously you put a lot of work into it. Like
Yeah, I did.
I don't think anybody, as somebody here who deals with technology and video and everything else, like I know behind the scenes you were putting in a lot of hours on that project. So
Oh my God, yes.
now, and I mean, you're already teaching at the Kubert School. So what inspired you to also, push yourself to make this online course for people? Did you kind of see that it was something that was needed in the space?
Um, Partially, but I think a big part of it came from me like pushing my own online presence and finding my own niche and like what I like to do and how I like to present myself. Because for a long time, I was just posting like regular drawings that I would do. And that's all good and all fine. But sometimes I really just like want to interact with people and showcase the skill that maybe they can learn from. And so I started to create like these little, TikTok reel videos, just giving like tips about how to draw or how to create comics. And the company that I did the course through, We Learn, reached out to me and was like, we think you can create this into a whole online course, and it would just be online videos. And I was like, well, that's a niche that, I'm not already doing. So that sounds good. And so it was my first time creating long form video content as well. And that was a huge experience for me.
For sure.
That was a big thing that I needed to learn how to do.
What were some of the challenges or the hurdles that came with that? Like, I know, like, so I'll tell you this, you came across in the videos very comfortable in front of the camera, and your personality like really shined through, very upbeat, very positive about what you were teaching and everything. So did that do you feel that came naturally, or was it something like, were you watching your footage back and being like, oh, I need to put a little more emphasis on this? Or did you just kind of approach it like, I'm going to be myself and try to make sure that comes across in the videos?
I think it was definitely the latter. Okay. Like, I think I did not want to spend that much time constantly going back to the camera and being like, do I look okay? Like, you're just fine. Like, did I say this all right? Because for me, and the way that I talk and the way that I teach in general is very personable. Like, I want to make sure that people feel comfortable enough to learn, because sometimes, like when people are trying to teach you something, it kind of feels like maybe they're talking down to you, or there's a weird disconnect when you have that kind of relationship with someone. So when I teach, I really want to make sure that I'm like stern, or like that I'm like very serious about what I'm talking about, but they'll showcase that this is fun and that you should be really interested in learning what you're doing. Like, if you're not interested in it, then why are you here?
Well, it really came across because you came across as very genuine in the videos. So I think you nailed what you were looking to do. So that's that was something that really stood out to me compared to other like online courses and online comic instructionals that I've seen. So when you were coming up with the idea that you were going to do this course, how much planning went into how you were going to structure it? And then
a lot of planning, actually. Like, I had to put in a lot of planning. I think the first thing that we had to do was I had to write out my whole course schedule. So how to create comics with Emma Kubert, it kind of naturally came to like the sections that it was. You have your introduction, you go to writing, storytelling, drawing, etc. And that's like naturally how you create a comic book anyway. So might as well just structure it that way. And then from there, I wrote like individual little like scripts for myself for every video. And I had to like gather all of the different photos that you see and like the examples that I put in there, and I had to edit for a very long time.
I was gonna ask you if you edited it all yourself as well.
I edited it all myself. I am a pro at Adobe Premiere now.
Nice.
So I know how to make long form videos now. And that was the whole thing for me. Like, the reason why I felt comfortable enough doing this was because I was like, all right, I'm really just like pushing myself into the deep end with this social media stuff that I'm trying to really put out there, and might as well, again, jump into the deep end and just make myself create like 50 plus videos
Yeah.
about how to do something, that I know exactly how to do.
I really like that it's a how to create comics course as opposed to just a how to draw course, because I feel
Mm,
like you're encouraging that level of creativity and opening people up to the idea that anybody can create a comic. Because
yes.
I think a
Yes.
lot of times, as somebody like, oh, I put myself in the category of a penciler or somebody that draws
Mhm.
or does comic book art, but a lot of artists, I think they put this little block in there like, well, I can't write too. I just need to do that. It's like, well, yeah, but you might not be as strong of a writer as you are an artist, but you could
Yeah.
come up with an idea and create a story.
I feel like it depends on what you are, but I was trained in all of it. Like, if you go to the Kubert School, the full time program, you learn everything like that I taught you. Um, and so for me, I felt comfortable enough knowing how to relay all of this because I learned all of this and I teach it as well. But I would say that for me, I made a how to create comics course just because I felt like it covered all of the different bases. And if I were to do future courses, I can go into detail about specific things.
Yeah.
Just like there's the offer of my next course, how to create a kid's graphic novel after the how to create comics with Emma Kubert. And so it's just going into like a little bit more specifics of how to do anything, but I like to start general. And I do agree that anyone can learn how to create a comic book. Like, for me, I didn't know comic books were were the art form that I loved when I was younger. But it was like I grew up loving Calvin and Hobbes, which are what my cats are named after.
I love it.
But like, I read Calvin and Hobbes since I was really, really little, and that has always had such a major impact on my art form and my storytelling. And I found that I just wanted to find a way to tell my individual stories the way that I wanted to tell them in a visual way.
Yeah,
There's comics. Like,
exactly.
that's exactly what comics are. It's just telling stories with pictures.
Yep. Now, did you ever feel any internal or external pressure coming from a family of artists? And you being that your dad's an artist, your grandpa, your uncle, did you put any extra pressure on yourself, or was it just kind of like, I'm just part of this. This is what we do. I'm creative. I'm encouraged.
This is what we
And this
do.
is just what we do. I'm
This is
encouraged
just
to be
like my life.
creative. I'm comic book royalty. No big deal.
That was, oh my God. No.
I didn't think so.
No, that's so funny. No, I didn't get any pressure from my family. I would say that even like to go so far of saying that maybe like my parents were a little scared to see, your kid go into the arts.
Yeah.
That's just scary for any parent because it's a high risk, high reward kind of career. You have to really love it and really spend a lot of hours working at it to be somewhat decent.
Right.
So it's like it's just a tough career path for anyone to go down. Um, but I would say that I needed to decide for myself that it was for me before anything else occurred. And once I decided that it was for me, that was kind of it. Like all of the pressure I put, like that was in the universe, I put on myself at that moment
Yeah.
because I was like, all right, it's time to uphold the family honor. That's what I'm today. I'm
Yeah,
today.
right.
All
We're
right,
going
I
all in.
decided it's time. But it took a long time for me to decide that comics were like the art form for me. I just wanted to make sure that it was for me because it was something that I didn't want to quit at because of my family, but also just because I really respect my family doing what they love to do and being successful at doing that and creating not just like, support for the family, but it's like really a community that they created out of this school.
Yeah.
So it's like, I just want to do that justice. So if I'm going into this like willy nilly, like, oh, I'm just going to do it. Like, no, I have to really like be like, okay, like this is going to be my life now. I'm going to just 100% dive into it because I love it. This is what I want to do. And that's where all that pressure comes from.
Yeah.
So I put the pressure on myself, but it's good pressure. And it's pressure that every young person needs in the start of their career when they're trying to like make a name for themselves and really get their stuff out there and everything.
True. Now, how did okay, I'm trying to think how to frame this.
Yeah.
Your dad is a very amazing artist. That's an
Mhm.
understatement. Um,
Yeah. It
when
is.
he is very much an understatement. Like I consider him and your uncle and obviously your grandfather like modern masters of art.
Mhm.
And so in your relationship with your dad, when he saw that you were taking this seriously, you're wanting to follow this path. Obviously, you said he was a little scared, a little trepidation there, maybe
Yeah.
in a minor
Any
sense.
any parent would.
Yep. But as far as him being in a mentoring role to you,
Uh-huh.
was that information received well from dad telling you, maybe giving you critiques on your art and stuff? Because I know
We
parent and kid, it's like sometimes when it's coming from your parent, it could be received a certain way versus an instructor, but it kind of sounds like you came up in the Kubert School, so potentially you maybe even had your dad as one of your teachers in one of your classes or something, right?
Yeah, I think my dad was really careful of like not to impose anything when I was like in high school.
Okay.
But as soon as I decided that I was going to the Kubert School and this is what I was gonna do, he was like, I'm not gonna be
I'm not your
like,
dad.
I'm gonna be tough on you,
I'm not
and
your
like,
dad when we're at the school. I'm your teacher, right?
but the thing is, that I knew that,
Yeah.
and he knew that too with my grandpa. Like my grandpa did the same thing that he was not easy on them, and it's just because they want you to do well. Like they
Yes.
don't want to lie to you and say that you're great because like it all shows up on the paper. It's not your pretty face that shows up in the
Right.
comic. it's
Yeah.
it's the drawing that you do and the writing that you do and what shows up on the page. And what shows up on the page has to look good. So it's like that's all they want. That's all they want from not just me, but from any one of their students. And that's just kind of how you have to approach it with every single mentor you have in the industry. Like I would treat my dad the same way that I would listen to like Frank Miller's advice, the
Hmm.
way that I would listen to like Klaus Jansen's advice, um, etc. Like all of these, all of these people are goats in their own right in the
100%.
industry.
Yeah.
So I have to just soak it all in and just get as much knowledge as I can. And it's like, rip me apart, make me better. That's what the mentality of being an artist is that like you're meant to be torn down so that you can be built stronger and better.
Yeah.
And I hope every artist that would be listening to this thinks that too. That's
Yeah.
all it is.
Well, I think, yeah, it's definitely something that I know some artists, especially people who are just coming up and they're first showing their work, like it could be hard to receive that feedback.
It is.
And you can tell when some people take it a little personally versus.
You can definitely tell.
I'm sure you've experienced that when you've given a critique or something like.
Yeah.
It's
very much so,
because our art is coming, like we very much feel like it's a piece of us that we translated into that.
It's true.
Work,
we do feel like it's a piece of us. It's like art really is kind of like a representation of that moment in time that you put it on the paper. You know, it's like this is the best that you can do right now.
Yeah.
But the next piece is going to be the next best thing you're going to do. And then the next piece is going to be better. And I think that's what a lot of artists, when they get so attached to their work, that's what they forget, is that art is kind of a perpetual, it's a perpetual motion. Like you're constantly observing the world, analyzing things, taking it in, vomiting on your piece of paper, and then you're doing that all over again.
Yeah. How would you encourage an artist who maybe is a little too precious with their work and you can see that they're being too careful and it's kind of holding them back? Like, for instance, like I know in myself, I've gotten better about this recently, which I'm proud of, but it took a way longer than it should have to be okay with finishing a piece, and there's mistakes you're going to notice towards the end, but you just got to move on and take those lessons and don't make those same mistakes on the next piece. But how do you get people out of the cycle of like starting over like halfway into a piece and never finishing anything,
Well, the difference between being a professional artist and being like a hobbyist or an amateur artist is getting your art done for a deadline.
Yeah.
And getting paid for your art. So for me, those are the only two differences, because like talent wise, you can be so talented and just have it as a hobby. You can be also not that great and be a professional at it.
Yeah.
There are two ways. But for me, I found that like, wait, so I said, what did I just say?
You said that you can be a professional and not be that great, but you could be somebody who, it's picking up your hand signals. It made a thumbs up. You said the difference between an amateur and a pro basically was that you're getting paid and you have a deadline.
Deadline.
Right. Yeah.
That's what I wanted to get to.
Yes.
So I would say that if you are working to become that like professional, you need to set deadlines and you need to become more disciplined with your time frames on your work. Because a lot of comic book artists, if they're working on a monthly comic, they're drawing a comic book a month, you know? Maybe with some time, scheduled in between to accommodate for whatever they need, but most likely that's kind of their schedule. So they need to be able to create this level of work during this time frame. Not everyone can do that.
Yeah.
And if you're looking to become that, then that's what you have to practice. Like that's literally what you're looking to work your way up to.
Right.
And honestly, some artists are slower. Some artists are a lot quicker. It all depends on what you can do and the way that you work. Work smarter, not harder. But I would say in general, it's all about setting that deadline. And you can always like start by just timing yourself and timing like how long you draw like a panel of a comic book page and see if that's like too much time for you or too little time or something like that. And then engage from
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, put
I know.
some boundaries and some, but
Yeah.
add a time frame, and then
Yes.
once you're done, you're done. Move on to the next one, right?
Exactly. And I always found that yeah, when you put a time frame on it, it really, really helps, but you have to adhere to it. You
Yeah,
have to be disciplined enough to follow that. And for me, sometimes I'm not. So some people I know they keep to the rule of like being able to draw a comic book, like one comic book page a day. Like that's their kind of thing that they're able to do. So if like you're drawing a 20-page comic, you can get that done within 30 something days of
yeah,
the month.
that makes sense. Yeah, set boundaries, move forward.
Yeah.
Keep moving forward. In principle, that's what we should be trying to do.
Basically.
Now, as we get towards the end here, I wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about some of the current projects you're working on, that the ones that you're able to talk about, because I know there's
Okay.
always that. But what would you like to let people know about that you're working on right now?
Well, I will start by saying that I do have secret projects that I
I
can't tell
know.
that I'm really, really excited about.
Awesome.
There's one for DC Comics that I'm very excited about, but I can't talk about it.
See. We'll save that. We'll save that for the next time you come on.
Okay, that sounds good.
Once it's announced and you can talk about it, that's what we'll
Yes.
talk about on the next one.
But currently I'm actually working on the second arc of Pandora, so Frank Miller's Pandora, young adult fantasy graphic novel comic book series. And we have 6 issues out. I literally have it like right here.
Oh, awesome.
Because I'm working on it right now. And yeah, that's honestly all I can really talk
Oh my
about. That's
goodness.
like literally the only project.
Well, I mean,
Because the other
just working with Frank Miller, no big deal. Like that's the
it's
only
not.
one you can talk about.
It's a dream come true. I'm not gonna lie.
For
It's
sure.
really great working with Frank. He's someone who just absolutely loves artwork and loves like talking about artwork. And it's like my favorite thing to ask, like, what kind of books are you reading?
Yeah.
Because I just want to know what inspires him. And we just continue to talk about like what we really like. And I really appreciate that from him.
That's so cool. I'm just just a touch jealous.
It's okay. That's my main goal in life, to
There
make
you
everyone
go.
jealous.
Emma, I've had a wonderful time with you here today. Thank you so much for coming on. I want to give you a chance to let everybody know the best places to follow you on social media, and how they can go about getting your drawing course, what they should be looking out for as far as upcoming courses and all that good stuff. So the stage is yours. Let them know.
All right. You can follow me at Emma Kubert on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube. I'm also on Tumblr.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone wants that. And for any upcoming courses, you can check out the link in my bio on my Instagram page to learn more about my online course, How to Create Comics with Emma Kubert. But there will be upcoming launches for the course again, so you can get on the waiting list and purchase it as well.
Not everybody was cool like me and got in on it right away on the first go.
Yeah. So you gotta get it the next time.
Gotta get it. You gotta wait, guys. Awesome, Emma. Well, hang out with me here for a moment while I let everybody know all the things I would encourage them to do. Guys, if you're enjoying the podcast, consider giving us a like, subscribe, share it with a friend. I mean, if you're listening to this, you already found the podcast, so that's great. We'd encourage you to watch the video version. It also can be found on audio on any major audio podcast platform. And in the meantime, everybody, keep it nerdy.